Sunday morning. It's, 11 o'clock Eastern. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. Shawn, I believe you got the Roosters up for the morning shift.
It's 9 o'clock Saskatchewan time.
And everybody is going, wow, that's early, man. I want to appreciate everybody for coming and for being here, because I've got a plane to catch to go to Prague to have different time zones and have me messed up for a week also. But we got a lot for you this week, and the regular season in the NLL is finally over, and we actually have some semblance of an idea that Mike's going to let us in, because he's the coherent one of the three of us.
Yep.
Those are trying to figure which way the end goes, if it's this way or this way. As always, I have Shawn Slaght, who's in Saskatoon today in his world travels. Shawn, how are you?
I'm pretty good, thanks.
You sleep? Oh, okay.
Yeah, pretty asleep, yeah.
And I have Muffler Mike over in Connecticut. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm coherent.
That makes one of us.
I like that. I'm in Toronto. I was in Rochester for a while, but I'm back in Toronto now for a short layover, if you will. But just before we get rolling, of course, just a reminder that all of our episodes are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. And you can catch all the action on streampunkentertainment.com. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons. Always share. Tell everybody about us. Enjoy our affiliates as well. The Pat Bernard Show, which just finished not long ago. Soccer and football shows, CFL shows, Streampunk Cinema, Streampunk Combat, which was busy this weekend because WrestleMania weekend is on. Plus, if you've missed a show, no worries. You can grab all the shows on YouTube. You can catch ours at All Across all the time, or you can go to Streampunk Sports, or even Streampunk Cinema, or Streampunk Combat. There's a number of different YouTube pages to check it. If you come to ours, you can catch retro games, you can catch our library of shows, interviews, press conferences, all kinds of things. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting streampunkentertainment.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also a reminder that this show is brought to you by 60, which is more than just a number. 60 is Canada's newest and most exciting sports uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and excellence sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. Now, you can go on to Instagram and take a look at their stuff at sweet_60. You can email them at info.sweet60@gmail.com. You can go on to their website at www.sweet60.ca/60. You can hit the QR code on our screen and let Jim know what your order is. But when you're making your order, put down Lax Talk 10. Lax Talk 10. Save yourself another 10% on your order. Now, in this day and age, why is this so important to be with a Canadian company? Well, two reasons. One, if you're in Canada, you might as well get 100 cents on your dollar and not have to worry about conversions and what the U.S. dollar is doing and any of that. If you're in the U.S., why not take advantage of a strong U.S. dollar and get a discount even more than Lax Talk 10 with your U.S. dollars? They have quality stuff, and if you go onto their sites, you'll take a look at everything that they've got. Jim is more than happy to work with you one-on-one with what you need for your teams or what you need individually. And give them a look, give them a call, give them an email. And let's get that rolling. Lax Talk 10, 10% off. Well, guys, we got a few things to take a look at before we head into NLL and the ALL. We talked about their finalists. Well, they have their award winners now. And, let's put that up. And, of course, the most valuable player is Parker Pfeiffer of the Toronto Monarchs. The coach of the year is from the champion Brampton Express, says Jeff Dowley. Rookie of the year is Caden Merritt from the Paris River Wolves. We have the AL East first and second team All-Stars. First team is Lucas Coote, Jonah Bohm, Nick Ellerton, Nate Woods, Parker Pfeiffer, and John St. John. The second team is Devlin Shanahan, Jameson Dilks, Matt Boissonneau, Mitch Zulian, Cam Milligan, and Curtis Ward. Number of names you guys would recognize, eh? Tell me how much ALL helps. Yes. The All-East rookie first team is Ethan Robertson, Joey Zabel, Stone Jacobs, Nate Woods, Jacob Janke, and Caden Merritt. And the All-East rookie second team, Sam Forbes, Eric Poirier, Jordan McKenna, Josh Sanchez, Cayman Diablo, and Zach Thompson. Congratulations to everybody.
Everyone. Yep.
And thus ends another ALL season. You know what that means, don't you guys? That's right. Summer Bowl. Summer Bowl is right around the corner. The bread and cheese game is set for Victoria Day weekend, which is the third Monday in May, just about a month away now. And, of course, I believe it's Brampton this year with Six Nations. If you are in the Ontario region, that is a free game over at the ILA, and they will give away Six Nations T-shirts. Just worth the drive right there.
Excellent.
And, of course, you got to get your chicken wrap. Gots to get your
Yep. We're gonna put up a counter for you, Gary.
Yeah.
I go up there.
It's gonna be a running counter the whole season. It's gonna be right in the corner.
Even when there's no game.
Podcast.
Even when there's no game. We go up there. You know, there's enough for 3 days worth of food in that thing. So, I'm good until Wednesday if I go Sunday. But that's time I go up there
listening.
Saturday. Twice a week gets me through the week. You can't make this stuff up because it's pretty awesome. We're gonna bring somebody on right away because I see the smile in his eyes, and well, he's got the same blurry look as the rest of us. Hi, Caden. Were you on the road like me yesterday? Your eyes are the same.
Oh, you're muted.
Crying, pain, suffering, harm, everything. God, it hurts.
Sometimes you have to look at the glass half full as opposed to half empty. I look at it this way with the Rock injury-prone season, and while they actually had a win last night, but you look at some of the positives of you have Dyson Williams now in the mix and representing well. You have Alex Simmons, and he's got another year under his belt and accredited himself very well as well. You worked your way through in what I call character building, and which was a very, very disheartening middle of the season. And with the exception of this weekend's game, really played a big role in who was getting in and who was getting out of the playoffs. So I would, if I were a firewolf, I would hold my head up very high and say that we achieved a lot of things, even though the second season isn't part of it. And I hold on to that with The Rock too, because we don't have a second season either, unless you look at MSL. But
Yeah. I guess the first point to look at it is after the really rough start that they had, going 2-8, losing all those close games, that being a win away, and obviously a bit of extra scenarios, but realistically being a win away from the playoffs was, I in my opinion, after again like that rough start, and I know Clarky's thinking it, I know the whole team is thinking it, that it's a huge accomplishment because the whole league had their eyes on us after going to the finals last year and playing Buffalo, and it's keep an eye on these guys, like they're young and exciting and still one of the youngest teams in the league, and we're just adding. Obviously, right before the deadline ended, you grabbed Peshko, you grabbed Jackson, which are two big ones, and they obviously made their names known going in to the end of the season. So that's going to be two huge additions for us going into next season. Hopefully they can actually reestablish the Ethan O'Connor. I don't know, since he was signed to a 1-year deal, he should be set into through next season, but that's another good one. Like, with the injuries that plague this team, having a guy like Ethan O'Connor, not only as a veteran to calm the minds of the younger players, but also as a very solid defender who can help us win games. And I mean, even in the short time he was there, he proved that.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this. When you guys are sitting at 2-8, did you think it was going to come down to the last game of the season of whether you're coming into the playoffs, or whether that had been a dream scenario?
You know, they never looked at, are we still in? Are we still out? It was always just taking it one game at a time. So I felt like that was I kind of try to follow the mindset that, you know, Clarky talked about in the press conferences and before the games, is that, like, you know, we're never truly out of it until that X or that E comes up on the board. We're never truly out of it. And I mean, that disproved it. I mean, now you can never look at it and say, 2-8, we're not going to make it. Now you can say, hey, we may start weak, but never give up, and you can still make a run for it. And then it's May, and I mean, like, the same thing as with any playoffs, is that literally anything can happen. So you just inch your way in there, and you're in. And like, I know there's a lot of scenarios and examples. One of my favorite scenarios is 2012 with the LA Kings, and when they just sneaked in to the Stanley Cup playoffs as the second wild card and went all the way to win it. So literally anything is possible.
Yeah. All you got to do is get in.
Yeah.
And then the fun begins. But like I say, I think, because none of us would have bet a nickel that Albany was going to be even anywhere close to playing for a playoff spot at 2-8. They were sitting there. I had as much faith with them as I did with the Toronto Rock making the playoffs, starting the season 0-5, right? And that was none. So, and even if they did, what was I expecting if a team is showing that? So there's a lot to build from, and of course, there's a lot of off-season tinkering to do. But I think that the core in Albany is pretty set, and it's maturing. I actually, to put it straight, is I think they played over their heads the year previous.
Yeah, this
is a little bit come to earth thing and character building, and this is what builds, teamwork, team togetherness, and through adversity. If everything is handed to you, you never really know what it's like, and when adversity happens, the team crumbles. Once you have to play through adversity, that's when the character building happens. And I think this team has a lot of savvy, because they never, ever looked like they were completely out. And there were some games that were just demoralizing.
Yeah.
I bring the Dobie game up, not to really get in your craw, but just that if there's a game that's demoralizing, is one guy scoring 8 times in the fourth in the overtime. That would be enough to make anybody go, but they didn't.
Yeah.
They didn't. They picked themselves up, dusted themselves off. Had a couple of games like that, picked themselves up, dusted themselves off, came back for the next one. You lose your captain for a bunch of games, who is heart and soul, who's your transition guy, and you find ways around that. He comes back and makes an immediate impact. Well, now we definitely know why Colt is wearing the C.
Yeah.
Simple.
And at the start, you mentioned Dyson, and I don't want to take away from this season he had. I mean, 64 points in his first year is huge, especially putting up 26 goals, and a year where everyone expected him to produce a lot more. And that's a fair point, that everyone put far higher expectations than he produced, and yet he still produced up to standard as to where we thought, with still all the offensive threats on this roster. But with not even looking at Dyson, you still have Will Johansson, who had that rough injury last year, finally being able to play this year. And he really solidified himself as a solid transition guy that Albany can rely on going into next season. You're going to look at him and say, you're going to go out there in big minutes, because he proved in big minutes. On top of that, Zach Mason. I mean, getting his first year under his first full year under his belt, he really locked in on defense, I thought. And the time that he was out there playing, I thought he really produced well. I thought he was an anchor when we needed it. I really liked how Zach played this whole year. And then Carson Moyer, Peshko, and Raposo, The other rookies were posted didn't get a whole lot of playing time, but let's look at Peshko and let's look at Moyer. I mean, Moyer only got 4 games with Albany, but he still produced in each of those games. So maybe it's a thing for next season where he's going to make an argument for the lineup each night, like John Piatelli did for this entire season.
Yeah, I'll add to that. Alex Simmons, almost the same exact stat line as last year. So no sophomore slump there.
Yeah.
Ty Kurtz nearly matched his rookie numbers as well. So you had 2 guys who were in the rookie of the year conversation last year who did not have the sophomore slump. So that's promising for the team.
And you look at, like, obviously these big guys. You're going to look at Ethan. You're going to look at Ty. You're going to look at Dyson. You're going to look at Alex. But someone who I thought really held his own this entire season, and someone who kind of went under the radar, was Sam Firth. I mean, he produced with 15 goals and 33 points in the games that he played. But his role was that high energy guy, and he got those goals in moments that Auburn needed them, that gave him that energy to win games. So he's another one. He's kind of like that Nathan Grennan and Carson Moyer, to Clarkie's exact words. They view Carson Moyer like a Sam Firth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, my question also now is, what did Clarkie have to say at season's end once the game was done?
I haven't had the chance to, speak to the guys after the loss. But I feel like the first thing is heads high, after the start that we had and the way they battled back. I feel like the first word is heads high. Keep your heads high, keep your spirits high, because a lot of teams wouldn't be in the same scenario that we were, because a lot of teams would have just given up at that halfway mark. At the moment that they're 2-8, a lot of these teams would have said, okay, we're done. Let's rebuild. Let's post everything to next season and let's get ready for next season. But Albany said, no, we're still going to fight. We're still going to keep going. And they did. They went, like you said, Gary, to the very last game.
Absolutely. And like I say, I would call that a victory, especially for what was going through most of the season. So I don't see anything but upside. I don't think there's a post-mortem in there. I think there's things to build on, of course.
And another thing that I'm really excited to build on is a full year of Kyle Jackson in Albany.
Right.
Because he came in halfway through the season and he was scoring every night. He was on the board every night, and he made himself known every night. Now finally getting a full year in Albany, getting a full year under his belt, coming into next season as, again, one of those veterans. That's going to be very exciting to see, especially with what they do in the offseason to bring in pieces, or what they do to what moves they make. Because I feel like after the short sample size that Kyle Jackson had, how can you not have him on your plans for next season?
Right. Let's talk a bit about this game, because there's a lot of good stuff going on, but I think they just ran out of gas. Honestly, I just looked like they ran out of gas. By the fourth, they were having a tough time, and veteran teams find ways to win when it comes down to it. And we've come down on San Diego most of the year for being this aged group that is injury prone and that, but most of their guys are healthy now, and they got healthy at the right time. And veterans find ways and don't get shocked or shimmied by anything that goes on. And this was a perfect example as the game went along, that they just stayed the course. And of course, who's going to get that game winning goal? Westberg, Mr. Clutch for them.
And you mentioned that fourth quarter is when San Diego came to life, but I mean, I focused all shift to that third quarter where Albany was held scoreless. And that's tough, because losing a 1-goal game like that, which is another 1-goal game loss for them, that's terrible. And that's something that I think they're going to really look to focus on in the offseason is getting past these 1-goal losses. But I mean, that's all luck coming down to it. But someone that you can't put blame on is Doug Jamieson. I mean, he made 50 saves on 61 shots. He was getting peppered in there in what felt like, I mean, it was San Diego's huge last push. So they had to put everything into it. They peppered Dougie. 61 shots. He made 50 saves. He had an 82 save percentage on the dot flat. Huge. That's amazing. And he's another reason why Albany found such success back on that latter half of the season that he finally found his game.
Right. See, where I think that Albany would have had the advantage, but for a veteran coming back, faceoffs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we would be talking about Joe Nardella, you know, just mopping the floor with the San Diego squad, which probably would get him another 10 possessions. And probably, even if they didn't score, would probably keep it away from San Diego, so they didn't score. But having Baptiste back in the lineup and him winning 14 of 24 plays a big role.
You know, that is something that I actually looked at last week in their game at home against San Diego. Is Trevor Baptiste outplayed him on the faceoff dot completely. He went 15 for 25 in the faceoffs, while Joe Nardella went 9 for 23, while they gave Mike Byrne 2 opportunities and he went 1 for 2. So 2 weeks in a row, Joe is kind of significantly handled in the faceoff dot, which is something that you do not see normally. Because normally it's him winning 20 faceoffs a game, like you said, giving Albany those extra couple possessions that they need that would potentially push them over the hump.
Right. Now, another thing to look at is how valuable has a healthy Will Johansson been as a vacuum cleaner? You know, vacuum cleaner. I
mean, like I said at the start talking about the rookies, how could you not mention Will and look at him as a future of this transition and this defense? You mentioned he's a vacuum cleaner, 146 loose balls, putting him second on the team to Joe Nardella. And that's only by 8. That's only by 8 loose balls. So, I mean, he's just going to get better and better and better as time goes on.
Absolutely. Again, it shows what we see in this game is what we've seen down the stretch of the season with Albany, is that they're coming alive and just slightly missing, and that's just growth.
No, 100%. And
Good
you know,
at
the start of the season, and when we were in that 2-8 spell, I mean, I coined the phrase "second half of horrors."
Mm-hmm.
Albany was having the worst times finding goals in the second half. They were producing everything in the first half, in the first 2 quarters, and then were just scoring 2-3 goals to end the game, which is something they could not do. And they picked it up. I mean, they got a lot of goals. They found a lot more offense. Obviously, Kyle Jackson being a huge part of that offense in those later half of the games. But they kind of found their way out of that second half of horrors in a way, but they still found struggling on scoring. I mean, scoring 10 goals, you're not going to win scoring 10 goals.
No, not against a team like San Diego, especially.
No.
I was just going to say, just give a little bit of credit on the other side too. I mean, Chris Regulieri, yeah, he had a bad start to that game, but he did lock it down too in that second half. I mean, Albany did give him some good looks, and he made some good saves in that second half.
Yeah. I mean, like you mentioned, Origlieri, I had his stats up right here. He made 37 for 47. So, I mean, 10 on a low night for Albany, because, you know, they're usually finding 50 to 60 shots a night. So, for not only him to make those huge, only letting in 10 goals against a high offensive, high threat team, but for San Diego's defense to completely shut Albany down offensively, almost, it felt like, you know, again, 47 shots. I feel like that's a very good omen for them going into the playoffs, especially after the rough start they had to the season with all the injuries and the no consistency. They really found themselves in that latter half of the season.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see, because I think the future is bright for what's there in Albany. We talked about it last year about the youth, and we were curious to see what would happen. And now we're not going to be talking about youth. We're going to be talking about seasoned, not grizzled veterans, but seasoned players. And now they've experienced both sides of the coin. Now it's up to them for how they react out of it. And with leadership like Clarkey and a few others there, I think that they're in good hands to keep everybody pretty level-headed.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you mentioned, it's not going to be any more rookies because the team is now kind of in that win now mode that let's try to win that cup. So it's going to be a lot less looking at the rookies and now looking at, all right, Alex is going into his third year. Now we got to start relying on him as more of a leader. This is Tyson going into his sophomore year. Same with a lot of these other rookies. And it's just, how can we continue to build on the NLL finals appearance? And while, yes, coming one game short of the playoffs isn't like the best season after, but like you said, Gary, and you said it multiple times, after the start they had, this is only a win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm tired of listening to people and everybody doom and gloom talk about every team that didn't make it. There's got to be an upside. And I think it's about time we start focusing on the positives the teams had. We talked last week with Elijah Gash about the positives in Toronto, that we had a chance to watch Nathan Grennan with this team. We had a chance to watch Holochuk in net. We had a chance to watch Jake Darlison and how he's taken to it. Zach Kearney as a regular role. Elijah Gash as he's developing into a transition and strong defender with the team, as well as a number of others. Josh Dahlwick coming to 42 goal season. Who would have picked that out a year ago? But there's a lot of things of development that we got to see, even though the cup isn't being hoisted in your particular city.
Yeah.
So that you can see it maybe in a couple of years from now. Because talking with Jamie Dahlwick last night before the game, and there's a lot of players that are going to be available, as there will be every year, especially with one less team. Until the league puts in a couple more expansion teams where it starts to dry up all the excess, there are a lot of really talented players all over the place. And when season's up, free agency, kaboom, all of a sudden, you take a look at a team that may need 2 or 3 pieces. Well, they're going to be available easily. So a team that's sitting here may be here that quick.
Yeah. And Gary, I want to look at Toronto specifically because, you look at a team that started 0-5 and you're like, what are the upsides? I mean, the huge upside is you guys have the first 3 picks.
Yep.
So, I mean, if there's any upside for you guys, it's 1, 2, 3. Now you don't have to worry about, what are we going to do at 1? Oh no, what are we going to do at 2? No, we only have 1. Oh wait, now we have the top 3. All right, we're good.
Yeah. We can actually say the top 4, because everybody forgets that Sam English was picked last year, first round. And because of NCAA eligibility, he didn't play this year. Mm-hmm. So you have a first round pick that you didn't use this year, plus 3. So 4 first round picks, plus Mark Matthews is healthy now. And something that he should have had shoulder surgery before the season, let alone game 4. Plus Tom Schreiber will be healthy. Mm-hmm. TD Erlin just came back last night. So all the injury bug problems looked hopefully that's somebody else's headache next year, because we had ours enough the last 4 seasons.
And on top of that, I mean, I spoke a lot about him at the start of the season. I mean, now you're going to have a full year of Nathan Grennan. So that's going to be even huge. I mean, I'm a huge Nathan Grennan fan. So just having him.
All you do is watch last night. If you weren't a fan, this guy's a spark plug. And every one of these things is a David and Goliath scenario. Because who's he taking on? He's not taking on the small guys. He's taking on the Tyler Biles. He's taking on the Matt Gilrays. He's taking on the guys who are 6'3", 6'4". He's 5'8".
Yeah.
5'8", $160. And yeah, I guess he doesn't realize he's 5'8", $160, but he's got just as much fight in him or more than a lot of them.
Yeah.
And he's a spark plug as a scorer too, because what Dawick's doing on the one side, he's doing on the other side. So you got the same energy on both sides. How about throw a Sam English and a CJ Kirst into the mix there and see what happens? Throw a Mark Matthews in there as a quarterback. Throw a Tom Schreiber in there to be able to do just about anything. That's not even talking about Dan Craig. That's not talking about Corey Small.
Mm-hmm.
That's not talking about a few of the others. Cameron. We watched him last night, Brian Cameron, back after his injuries, and with an absolute howitzer from the outside, just probably just about through the net. Yeah, but there's so many different pieces that you're almost sitting there going, "Gosh, I wish Gary's idea of the ALL farm team would come to fruition, so we can keep a bunch of these guys and not have to set them free."
Yeah.
But there's plenty of upside all over the place, and the best is yet to come. So yeah, it's painful at the moment, but that shall pass. Now you get to have the fun of trying to make be your own GM and move your pieces around, see what fits for you, and see how close you are to what they're thinking.
I think my favorite part about it is also not having a dog in the fight, so I get to sit back and watch all the madness unfold without having to worry. Is Albany going to be facing Buffalo? Oh no, is Albany going to be facing a tough team in a 3-round matchup? So it's going to come down to I'm just going to sit back, relax, and watch the chaos unfold.
Absolutely. Caden, appreciate it, man. Thank you very much as always. I know you got to run, and happy Easter.
Happy Easter, fellas. Last thing I will say, as you can see in the bottom of my tag, let's go Nighthawks. They're my dark horse. I am picking Rochester to win it all this season.
I'm hoping for that too, because when I get back from Prague, that gives me somewhere to go.
They got a tall order to start, so
yeah,
they do. But if anybody's gonna knock Del Bianco off his perch,
that's probably gonna be the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Weekend.
Absolutely.
So.
And I might even be able to watch that, because with the time change, I might be right in the wheelhouse, having breakfast and watching a game.
That's
all right.
The best way to do it.
I will be seeing you in 2 weeks, but I will have something to do with next week's show. Don't forget, everybody, next week's show will still be on as normal, even though I'm in Prague, at 8 p.m. Eastern. You're on all the Stream Punk Entertainment networks. Caden, as always, happy Easter. Thank you very much. Great season, and we will be talking with you next week.
Happy Easter, fellas, and have a good rest of the night and good rest of your day.
You too.
Happy Easter, Caden.
I was Caden with the final Wolves Den for the season, but I like what that team is in the process of becoming.
Yeah,
and I think this was just a really character building kind of season. You can't just have everything handed. The first year, things, though they had a little bit of adversity, everything kind of was just fell into place. And then the only adversity they saw was the Buffalo games in Banditland in the second game. The first game was pretty tight, but you got to have some of these to build and character build together, so that it means that much more when you do finally achieve. And Eduardo is with us, of course, in the Easter egg hunt over in St. Augustine, Florida. We're catching you. Our temperatures are coming up. I don't need mittens anymore. In Del Bianco, we trust. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's definitely true, but you got to get by Rochester now. So I agree with you, Shawn. I think that is the game of the week next week. But why don't we get back to a couple of these other ditties of games, and we can start with Friday. We could, and of course, Halifax and Toronto, they battled it out in what was actually a little bit more interesting game than I thought it might be, because originally I thought that this was going to be just ugly, but I always have reservations because whenever these two teams meet, something happens, and it's kind of like the Leafs in Montreal. It doesn't seem to matter where they are in the standings; they play each other dirty, tough, and all the other things. And we got all of that, right? But the Thunderbirds took advantage of all the opportunities that they were getting early. And they got out to a 4-0 first quarter lead. In fact, Toronto didn't get their first goal until 1/2 of a second left in the first quarter when Corey Small put the rock on the board. So when you're down 4-1 in a game that is nothing game for you other than playing spoiler to a home game for Halifax. Motivation? But Chris Boucher all of a sudden put it under there. He got 3 goals in the second quarter. And Josh Dawick, he got a couple of goals in that quarter too. Josh Dawick, who would have thought that we were going to talk about his 40-goal season?
That kid's going to be a star.
He is. And, the maturity way above the years that he is, watching him on the floor. Now, if you look at the NLL broadcast from last night, you'll see that I am in the corner, which is just to the left of the goalie, just to the right of the goalie, sorry. And so I'm able to be on Dawick's side and just to watch what he does off ball as much as on ball and getting himself in position and always keeping his feet moving and always having other things, all the things that are preached from the time you are little all the way up. And he does it. And the best part is he does it with a smile. One of the most personable kids I've ever known, men. I've known him since he was, I think, 10. And we've had a good friendship over the years, and I love it. I love watching this. And I told him that yesterday. I was so proud of him for the year that he had, but just for the career that he's etching out for himself. It's one thing to have the Dawick name. But now, when we're talking about him first and Jamie second, that's interesting. And I credit the World Championships for this. And everybody thought, well, why would he go play for Austria? Well, for one, there isn't a spot on Canada to play. The lineup forms to the right, which goes about 19 blocks for guys who want to play there. But playing there, he actually led the world in scoring. Well, he was the go-to guy for the team, right? What a great way to practice. And take that confidence and roll with it into the season. And sure enough, right away, you saw that him and Schreiber had a chemistry in preseason. From that point on, Schreiber was hurt, didn't stop Dawick. He was still able to pick his corners. His shot got a lot more confident, which meant it became a much harder shot as well. And it was a much more cerebral shot, I guess, but it was a hidden shot too. A lot of screens, behind the back things, a lot more word I'm looking for, Mike. There was more tools in the toolbox. More variance to his shots. It wasn't just a sit off to the side and shoot from outside. The things I love so much. But he would dive across the crease. He would come from behind the net. He would do all these other things to keep defenses guessing. It's only his second year in the league. I'd say that's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't want to mix that word up with your other favorite word of the season.
Inconclusive? Yeah.
I love inconclusive. I love
the dreaded I word.
Inconclusive. You can swear at me and go, "You're inconclusive." I just find it odd. But Toronto even fought their way back in this game, and they tied it 8-8 near the end of the third quarter. And Cody Jamieson got one with 25 seconds after it tied it. So just at the end of the third quarter, make it 9-8, and it looked like, holy smokes, this actually could be the upset of the week. I give you the fourth quarter. When a team wants to win and is good and is in the playoffs, they should be doing things like this. Well, they put it into fifth, maybe even sixth gear. and they outscored Toronto 7-1 in that quarter. Now, Dawson Theed had a great game. He was banging, he was scoring, but he had just a fantastic game. Randy Stotts had another monster game. Mike Robinson also making a name for himself now. Big-time games from big-time players. And that's what Halifax needs, is everybody. Even Bo Hunter, I noticed on the floor. He wasn't just there taking the one shot he has. So somehow Kersey has gotten through to everybody that this is what needs to happen. And it didn't matter if Toronto wanted to play rough. They were able to play it rough. Difference was that they didn't take penalties. Toronto was a parade to the penalty box. Some of it very questionable in my eyes. I am really, really tired of the call a 5-minute penalty, we'll review it, and then we'll reduce. This is getting very old. Either call a penalty you see, or don't call a penalty you don't see. But stop calling these 5-minute things, putting 4 minutes to review so that you can reduce it or say it's not a penalty. Because there was enough diving out on that floor that Halifax was doing, especially, to draw Academy Award nominations.
Yeah. I think it got to go further than that because it has to do with the rule book, right? And the fact that you get so many major penalties and you get suspension or a game misconduct or whatever it is, I can't recall off the top of my head. Maybe that's got to go away because that's why they're reviewing this, is because there's implications if a player has a major penalty. Maybe that's just got to go away. I don't know any other league that does that.
I'm watching checks that are shoulder to the chest, and Buddy's throwing his head up and falling down like he was shot. You're calling a 5. You're reviewing it for 4 minutes, stopping the momentum of the game. And then you're saying, oh, there wasn't a penalty. Well, duh. If you're watching, you would have seen that.
That's why I said I'd take it a step further, is because they have to do that because there's implications if you give a 5-minute penalty, which is ridiculous.
But I'm going a little bit further than that, Sean. I'm saying that the guy who dove, never mind make it even with the other guy. Yeah. He penalizes his own team now for delay a game.
Yeah.
Never mind equalizing. You go. You dove. You go. Because we always seem to go, okay, well, we're going to give you the illegal body check, and we're going to give you the embellishment charge. No. Let's stop this altogether and just embellishment. Never mind. Okay, you're off. You go. Want to see how quickly diving comes out of this game? I give it 3 weeks. Gone. Make it one major game that costs them a game. That maybe they don't go to the playoffs because of it. Gone. Enough's enough. You know, I put up those retro games on YouTube so you can see what it looks like before we started getting effeminate or whatever you want to call them.
Before they had rules.
Well, you know, it was Wild West, but you know, things that would be changing possessions of 5-game suspension now.
Yeah, I was going to say that sarcastically a bit, right?
But but they played. There was flow. There's no flow when you're calling a penalty every 3 minutes. Or calling a 5-minute one and then spending 4 minutes after that reviewing it to make it a 2-minute. Or saying there wasn't a penalty. Or occasionally calling it a 5. And then I found it even funnier that I was sitting behind the penalty box in Toronto, and the screen wasn't working, so they were actually looking up at the scoreboard, watching what we're watching. If you didn't see it before, you think you're going to see it on that non-HD? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you, Gary, because I remember, I think it was last year, Rush game, and I think there was 24 penalties. Like, it's almost like every second there's penalty. Like you said, how could even teams and players, how can you get any rhythm or any momentum when all of a sudden you score a goal? Okay, you think you got the momentum. Oh, but whistle, penalty.
Now, there was a Go Abrams sighting in this game at the end, but I can't blame Holichuk, and here's why. He was hung out to dry. He faced 68 shots in this game. 68. Of those 68, he made 52 saves. Not a bad evening's work. And they weren't easy saves. You know, things happen. Face-off battle. Erlin wasn't playing in this one. And, of course, Withers went to town. And he won 25 of 28 faceoffs, or should I say Halifax? Because Withers spends a good bunch of time in the box because he seemed to want to scrap it out with anybody and everybody, and the ones who did want to scrap it out with him for some reason they never got together. Ostrauser, gosh. Loose ball battle. This one is mind blowing. Is Halifax had 100 loose balls in this game to Toronto's 52. Are you winning games without getting loose balls?
No.
Without face-offs, giving up 1,000 shots? No. These are the categories that you're not. The only thing that I can say is that Halifax went 3 for 8 on the power play, so the penalty kill wasn't too bad. But Toronto went 0 for 2 on their 2 measly chances. Yeah, they did get a shorthanded goal though. But all in all, a forgettable game for the fan appreciation game. It just was kind of the cherry on the Sunday for the season that was going on. You know, you had a lot of younger guys in there, and there were mistakes made, and there was assignments missed, and there was emotion in there, and all kinds of little things in there. But I really, I like Chris Williams and his crew. I really don't think this was their best game of the year that they had as a roughing crew. Just putting that out there. But they weren't the reason why this game got lopsided, even though it was 8-8 coming down to the end of the third. Just if you're going to give up 7 in the fourth, you're not winning many games. I don't think you're winning any games, to tell you the truth. So that was the game that went. And then less than 24 hours later, I'll have to go to Rochester. And I don't know where the teams shifted and changed buses, but they did. Because the team that came out in Rochester, and again, there's no love lost between these teams. And they had a chance to really put a fork into the Nighthawks' home game plan. And it was funny because, you could feel it right even from the warm-ups, that something was different about the team while Erlin was playing. That's the only change, though. But, this thing was back and forth. Now, what's the best way to stop all that? Well, the Nighthawks scored 17 seconds in. Connor Fields got a goal 17 seconds into the game. That stops, all the energy, right? Isn't that Mike Tyson says everybody's got a plan until they get a punch in the face?
Yeah.
There was your punch in the face. But Elijah Gash comes right back, and, well, we thought he had a goal. Upon coach's challenge, it deemed he had a toenail in the crease, and it came back. However, on this coast to coast that he was doing, he was yanked down, and this was not a penalty. This became a penalty shot. Challen Rogers took this penalty shot, and he deked Rylan Hartley out of his shorts and got the goal, and we were tied. Chris Boucher, he was after Friday night's game, he was 3 away from 40 himself. He got the first one of his goals of the night to give the Rock the lead. Just after that, Graydon Hogg, who had a great game for Rochester, and what a rookie season he's had. And I have his press conference up also on our page. He quick sticked a Ryan Smith pass from the side of the net, and it was just poetry, just perfect. And Holacek was quick to the side too, so it had to be perfect to go in, and it did. But Toronto came right back, and Boucher, the patented dive from behind the net, Dawick to Boucher dive score, and there it was. On the power play, Boucher converted a Latrell Harris pass from in front with 26 seconds left in the quarter, making it 4-2 Toronto. That was Boucher's 40th of the season. We head into the second, and the Rock got things going quickly in the second. Challen Rogers absolutely blasted a high-to-low shot from Josh Dawick. 41 seconds in, 5-2. Nighthawks answer. Ryan Smith on a power play from beside the net. Then Thomas McConvey finishes a Ryan Smith pass from in front. And we're down just to a 5-4 game. Latrell Harris answers in transition from the top of the crease midway through the quarter. Tutton, Chad Tutton, there's a name we don't say very often anymore. He answers for the Nighthawks in transition off a Taylor Jensen pass. But Josh Dalwick comes back with a 2-goal lead again for Toronto near the end of the quarter. So it ends 7-5 at the half for Toronto. The Rock make it 8-5 early when Josh Dalwick scores yet again, converting a Zach Kearney pass in transition just 50 seconds into the quarter. Nighthawks come back, though. Thomas McConvey scores with just an absolute outside laser off a Ryan Lansbury pass. Ryan Smith then gets one, converting a Kyle Waters pass at the top of the crease, followed by Matt Gilray going coast to coast. Now, we talked about 19 loose balls in this game, but he was on fire and just a gorgeous goal. And this tied the game up. Kind of gives you similar to the night before, right? You know, near the end of the third quarter, and it's 8-8. And Toronto regained a lead with just a minute 55 left in the quarter, with Challen Rogers firing another high-to-low shot from not quite outside. It was just between the circle and the restraining line. And just beautiful shot off a Chris Boucher pass. And it's 9-8. So it's looking a lot like the night before, only the teams have changed. Expecting the 7-goal fourth. Challen Rogers does exactly the same. I almost thought I was watching a replay, except it was live. Another high-to-low shot from the same spot, a minute 29 in. And, Toronto gives up 10-8. However, as younger players will do, Troy Holochuk with a terrible clearing pass. So much so that Connor Fields knocks it down, picks it up, intercepts it, scores. Boom. Whoops. And you can almost feel the air go, right? But over in Nighthawk land, right? Only a goal difference, 10-9. And you still have 13 minutes left in the game. So you're thinking, this is where. Brian Cameron. There's a name we haven't talked about much this year since he got hurt after the opening part of the season. Well, he's better. And wow, what an absolute howitzer he fired into the top corner from the outside off a Chris Boucher pass. But, this went on for most of the period. We're at 11-9. Goalie pulled. Ryan Lansbury gets the Nighthawks within one. Still 2.5 minutes left in the game. Rochester threw everything at Toronto at Holochuk. And if anybody doubts that Holochuk is a bona fide NLL goalie, don't know more. He single-handedly made 4 or 5 saves in that thing. Some difficult, some not as difficult. But it was a frantic couple of minutes nonetheless. But Toronto comes away with the 11-10 victory. Shots on goal. Once again, a peppering evening. Rochester outshoots Toronto 65-52. Erlin's back. Toronto wins the face-off battle against Slosser. Erlin, 16 of 24. The loose ball battle, a little bit better tonight, or last night, went to Rochester 77-76. It was a tough game. Toronto went 4 for 5 on the power play in this game. They made Rochester pay every time they did something stupid. Rochester went 1 for 2. You take your pick. Tale of two games, though. I thought Rochester passed a lot better in the first half, but they played more of a in-your-face tough game in the second half. They went back to what was winning them games the last 6 or 9 of 12. And, just by a goal. As they kept saying in the post-game press conferences, well, if we're going to have that kind of a stinker of a game, let's have it in the last game of the season, just to get that taste back in our mouth of why we don't want to do that next week when we're playing in the playoffs. One and done. Right? So,
right.
Upsides. I think Rochester is one of the most well-rounded teams in the league. They can play it physical with you. They can play it transitionally with you. They can play it with heavy goal scoring with Connor Fields, Kyle Waters, Ryan Smith, Thomas McConvey. You're looking at now that Tutton's back in the transition mix. You have Medeiros with him, Gilray. You have quite a bit of that, and you have Ryland Hartley, who is doing the acrobatics at the other end, and can just as easily fire a transition pass up the floor as Del Bianco can the other way. It's going to be a very interesting matchup, and I think it's going to come down to discipline. Whoever stays out of the box more and doesn't do stupid things. Remember, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, right? Stupid prizes is watching next week on your TV.
Yep.
So, as for Toronto, we've talked about it already. A lot of upside. We didn't even talk about Brian Cameron when we were talking about all the other pieces. So, there's almost too many pieces already. So it's going to be interesting offseason. I wonder if Dan Craig comes back because he's been a non-factor most of this year. It's been a pretty big factor the last number of years. The Iceman has become the Iceberg. So does he come back? And do they really go outlandish? And this is just a thought, so I don't need cards, letters, or comments of trading Tom Schreiber and getting as many first-round picks for that 2026 draft, which is supposed to be the Bukun of drafts from years and 4 years, is a time because people are already starting to talk and the injuries are piling up. And now he's got a young family. Does he want to do year-round with PLL and NLL? So maybe it's time to get the maximum you can for him. Let him go do his thing somewhere. If he comes back, great. If not, they were able to do that with Kieran McArdle and got away with it. Because as soon as he went there a couple of years, he was only doing field, job and family. Funny how that works.
I don't think it's all that crazy. We heard the rumors even at this trade deadline of possibly moving Tom. So I don't think it's all that crazy.
And he's not one of those unrestricted free agents. You can actually keep him under contract for a couple of years. So it's a lot of upside there. And if we can scoop a couple of first-round picks for him and maybe somebody that will fill a void in one of the other spots, because I don't think offense is an issue. So just a thought out there. Because remember, there's going to be a pile of players again, even more.
Yeah,
because you have a whole other draft class in there to go with it. So it's going to be pretty wild. It's going to be a free-for-all. Again, we're going to be sitting there in September going, what the hell? Well, we're going to be sitting there in August going, what the heck, because of all the free agent movement once again. But we'll see. But that's it in a nutshell for them guys. Why don't we move ourselves on over to one of the games that was the head scratchers? Let's go to the Buffalo Georgia game, shall we? Interesting game there. I can't figure out Georgia. Can anybody else?
When it came to the playoff picture, this screwed up everything as far as I was concerned because it turned everything on its head.
Yeah, I just can't figure it out anymore. I figure that this is one that even with resting players, that Buffalo's not going to rest that many. And it looked like Buffalo was going to come away with this victory, and all of a sudden, they didn't. Any answers, guys?
No.
Lyle Thompson effect.
Yeah.
Need a big game? He's your guy. My NLL page isn't working very well right now. But again, do we worry about Buffalo? Mike, what do you think? Do we worry about Buffalo? Because this is another one of those games where could have, should have, didn't. And it's been the MO of their second half of the season.
Yeah, I think so. They started 7-0 and then they went 6-5 the rest of the way.
Yeah.
With 3 home losses. one of them to San Diego, who they will be playing in the quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a healthier San Diego now than it was when they had their home and home.
Mm-hmm. And the
Yeah,
San
I'd
Diego
say.
Buffalo team,
I
San Diego
mean,
pulled off one of them, right? So
yeah, and I mean they nearly pulled it off twice. So
yep. And the one they won was in Bandit Land, and that
yes.
was without these guys.
Yep. So yeah, there's definitely some concern there. You know, I think they would need to be concerned. I mean, I think they need to be concerned that they're coming in with momentum too, off this win overall.
I'm wondering, is Matt Vince tired now? You think? Faced 49 shots again. Like I that's. I know he likes to work, and I know he likes to keep busy, but if by some fluke some shot catches him the wrong way, I don't think Buffalo fares that well.
The thing is, this is becoming a bit of a grind for, his age, just in general.
I'm looking at it also that your scorers are doing a lot of assisting. They're not doing a lot of scoring, right? Byrne got 7 assists in this game, 1 goal. Smith, 4 assists in this game, 2 goals. When Dane Smith doesn't have 10 assists, Buffalo doesn't seem to win. Interesting. Transitionally, Steve Priolo. That's all. I'm not convinced. I had the feeling before they got onto this 12 games in 10 weeks, but since then I've found them to be, yes, they're dangerous. Of course, they're 2-time champs, but I'm not as petrified about them in a game as I am, say, a Vancouver or a Rochester. More Rochester than Vancouver, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, but if you're Buffalo, how much do you really need to worry about transition with San Diego? And let's take into consideration what they did to Halifax 2 weekends ago, where Halifax had, I mean, yeah, okay, the game was 12-12 and they pulled away at the end, but Halifax had next to zero transition of any kind in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And, we spent the middle third of the season pretty much saying Ryan Terafenko was a lock for transition player of the year.
Right.
When he went on that run.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
They limited a good transition team to nothing in transition. And
right.
they're going to be going up against a San Diego team that, let's face it, out of all the teams in the playoffs, probably have the least threatening transition game.
But they have a number of other things that make them dangerous.
Oh, no, I don't doubt that.
Yeah, and I was just thinking San Diego's a team that doesn't want to get into a track meet. So I'm
the area when he's hot can shut down a team like Buffalo. So it's going to be very interesting. I actually reckon this to last year's Georgia event, only if Georgia would have had Seth Oakes in the lineup, because San Diego's going to be able to put their whole lineup in. So this is going to be another one of those. This could be the upset of the upsets, right? Then we would have a new champion. Wouldn't that be interesting?
It could be, and not for nothing, that side of the bracket, you've got Buffalo and San Diego, and then you've got Vancouver and Rochester.
Right.
Yeah.
And whoever's winning is meeting for a 3-game series in the semifinals. So.
Yeah, the one of those teams, whoever makes it to the finals, is going to have to gone through hell to get there.
Pretty
So,
much.
Yeah.
so they'll be beaten and battered. But that brings us to the other side. And Calgary had to pull off quite the coup to get where they were going to finish 6th overall and wind up with Halifax in the playoffs. And, well, they found a way to do it. Well, of course, we expected them to beat Las Vegas. And I don't think that this game was ever really in doubt, was it?
It might have gotten questionable near the end. They did pull within. Las Vegas did pull within 10-9 in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But
Were you ever at that point where, man, this could happen?
I guess I'd say no. just you know,
That's my point. Really.
yeah. You have a heavy veteran presence, and Las Vegas is, Las Vegas. They're still trying to figure things out. So, at the very least for Vegas in this game, at least you could see they were spreading the wealth, at least on their offense.
Yeah, they're coming out of this thing.
Yeah, Adam Pachwa had 2 goals, 2 assists. Casey Jackson, 2 goals and an assist. Kyle Killen had a pair of goals. Jonathan Donville, a goal and 3 assists. Obviously he didn't have the year everyone kind of hoped or expected he would have, kind of being more of an assist guy. He did finish in the top 20 in scoring despite all that. So, registered over 80 points on the year, I believe.
Right.
Holden Katoni, goal and 3 assists. Jack Hanna, 3 assists. That's probably the one that's the stat that stands out to me, is that he was held without a goal.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets his usual, maybe we are talking upset. If he gets his usual hat trick or 4 goals, that we know he's capable of doing.
Right.
Also didn't help that Calgary went 4 for 5 on the power play. So,
Mm-hmm.
in addition to Justin Anasio, big game, 18 of 24 on faceoffs, 9 loose balls, cost turnover.
Sure.
And Nick Rose,
What they got him for. What they got him
for 43 saves. He moves into second place all time in goalie saves.
It's going to take him a number of years to get over to
that. And maybe this is the difference, on Calgary's side. We were just talking about, how Hanna and Donville didn't really produce for Vegas. You didn't get much out of Curtis Dixon, and Dane Doby didn't play, but you still had Jesse King, 3 goals, 7 assists. Tanner Cook had a hat trick and 3 assists. Hayden Dixon, 2 and 2. Braden Maye, a goal and 2 assists. So
Mm-hmm.
You're still getting production out of who is in the lineup. So
Were they saving themselves?
That's what's going to make a little difference
for the
in the
next
playoffs.
game. Were they saving themselves for the next game, do you think? Gave them just enough.
I mean, it's entirely
one?
possible because they, Doby played against Colorado. They activated Reese Callies. They activated Tyler Pace for the Colorado game. I think so, because that was.
And even though they didn't start out particularly well, boy, oh boy, come the second quarter in that game. Wow.
Yeah. And that was the game, because the game, a win against Vegas didn't automatically get Calgary in.
Mm-hmm.
But a win against Colorado would have. So, turning to that game, Curtis Dixon did come to play, against Colorado. 4 goals, 3 assists. Again, Hayden Dixon, 2 and 1. Tanner Cook, 2 and 1. Doby had 3 assists. You had Pace and Callies, who had just been activated. Each had a goal. So, and Rose again standing tall, 48 saves in this one, and 3 for 7 on the power play. So,
Right.
so they're playing pretty efficiently when they have the man up. You know, which, hey, there are some teams in the playoffs that are struggling on the power play right now.
Yeah.
So, and then Colorado, I mean, with all due respect to Colorado, you know, they've had kind of an up and down season, but Calgary shouldn't have had any business losing that game to Colorado, especially since, you know, again,
No.
Ed Williams, no Eli McLaughlin.
Yeah, so they've
Connor
never seen a lot of
Kelly
key
goes on injured
pieces.
reserve.
Yeah.
You know, and all you can muster is 3 goals and an assist from Ryan Lee, a pair of goals from Thomas Vela. You have Will Malcolm, Tyson Gibson, Connor Robinson combined for 3 assists on the night.
Right. See, that brings us to the other game too. Is the Philadelphia-Vancouver game. Did Vancouver pull the shoots at the half? Everything's going their way. They're up 10-3. They held Philadelphia without a goal in the second. And you almost 1 goal in the second half. Granted, you only gave up 2, but 1 goal in the second half. I would figure if you scored 10 in the first, you could easily put another 6 or 7 if you're feeling it. I don't see. It wouldn't make any sense to stop it. But what happened? Philadelphia not known for defense either.
After a while, I thought he was playing not to get injured.
I think so.
Which is frightening too, because
they almost kind of go through the motions, but I don't get the sense that we're going to see that same kind of play next weekend. Because, like I said, this is
they're watching weekend.
This is the game, and it's. I think you can tell with Vancouver, with what Kurt Malosky's done, getting everyone to buy into his philosophy. This is not just, hey, we made the playoffs. Let's celebrate. Okay, it's hey, we made the playoffs. Hey,
we're going for the cup now.
Hey, we haven't lost since we acquired Del Bianco. Hey, let me just ask you guys, who had the best home record this year in the NLL? Who do you think?
Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyone tuning in, you probably didn't know Vancouver went 7-2 at home this year. Better than Buffalo. Better than Sask. Better than San Diego. So,
even better than
the
Toronto.
attendance is going up, and the last thing I would add is, how would you like to break one of your own curses on a potential championship run? Vancouver has never won a home playoff game. Not as the Ravens, not as the Stealth, and this is going to be their first one as the Warriors.
Interesting.
So you want incentive.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that you have a hot Rochester team coming in. Well, not so hot because their winning streak got snapped. So who has the longest winning streak in the league right now? It's Vancouver.
Yeah.
So this game, they're to say there's a lot on the line for the Warriors next weekend with the home playoff game is beyond an understatement.
Yeah, definitely.
And watch out, because if they win, regardless of who wins the Buffalo San Diego game, first of all, I mean, if San Diego pulls off the upset somehow, some way, that's going to be a heck of a 3-game series. Vancouver and San Diego. And again, Vancouver would have the home field advantage. And even if not, if if Buffalo wins, yeah, you got to potentially go into Bandit Land twice, but you already went in there with Del Bianco, and don't want to harken back to 2019, but Christian Del Bianco could be living rent free to some extent in the minds of Bandit Land with the way he's played over the last few years against them.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. It leaves us with one game, Shawn, and this game really mattered nothing to anything, really.
In the end of it, yeah.
By the time it actually went to fruition, just a stay healthy game and keep reps.
Yeah, we talk about teams, in the playoffs that put the foot off the gas. Rush did the exact opposite. They kept the foot on the gas, and it was really Ottawa showed up for one quarter, and that was pretty much it. And I mean, the difference in that one quarter was Rush just kind of forgot that Jeff Teat was on the floor for a bit.
Yeah, fastest hat trick since 2002.
Actually, Graham Perro corrected that because actually Mike Triolo had one that was 1 second quicker.
Interesting.
This year. Yeah.
Even funnier.
But yeah, I mean, Jeff Teat, with a natural hat trick. Stevens with the transition goal. Jake Stevens with the transition goal is 4-0 Ottawa. Saskatchewan came back with Shanks, Mans, and Church. Make it 4-3. Connor Kiernan with the goal in the second quarter. This game went scoreless until 4 minutes and 39 seconds left in the second quarter. But then right after that ensuing face-off, Jake Naso, who he went, I'll double check my numbers here, 17 for 27 on the face-off job, by the way. Won the ensuing draw, picked it up, and sniped one home. And it was 5-4 Ottawa at the half. And then, someone must have told Ottawa that Georgia won at half because Jake Boudreau, and that's the thing with the Saskatchewan team. In the end, Boudreau had 2 goals in transition. You also had, like I said, Naso scored. Holden Garland shot a howitzer on transition as part of an 11-goal run by the Rush between the third and fourth quarters. Robert Church with the sock trick, kind of what you expect from him. And and I mean, we talk about Jeff Teat and how, Ottawa goes how he goes. He had that hat trick, and after that, he had 1 assist the rest of the game. Like, he was just completely shut down. As for this, I mean, we talk about Rochester and we talk about Vancouver, but I say, what about Saskatchewan? I mean, I don't think they've lost 2 in a row all season. Technically, they're tied for first. It's just that Buffalo had that tiebreaker on them.
Sure.
They're just as dangerous as any other team, I think.
It's going to be interesting because
I think so, yeah.
And another thing, too, I mean, if anyone wants to question if Frank Scigliano is an elite goalie, he held another team to single digits.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, I guess you could look at it as their reward is they get an inconsistent Georgia team that, sure, you don't know who's going to show up a week from now, but you know what's going to show up on your side. And
you get them on home floor. And, we
plenty
were talking
of
about the bracket. The Rush have the easy side of the bracket, so to speak.
Yeah.
I made the bold prediction. I'll stick to it that I think if they can get by Georgia, they have a very good chance of going to that final because I don't see a team beating them in a 3-game series up to the final.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that they're a dangerous little squad there, but it's weird because there's just so many little factors that that's one thing I hate about the one and done.
Yeah.
is that it doesn't matter what you did all year. One and done. Any
That's
given
why I leave
Sunday.
that. That's why I leave that caveat, right? As long as they can get round up by that first round, because anything can happen in a one and done.
Yeah, and Calgary's going to have a tough climb with having to go to Halifax. I think for that home game, that first ever home game. I think that's going to be,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, maybe for the vets, it's going to be nothing new. It's just another road game, but I mean, the atmosphere there. If you don't think the Thunderbirds are going to be charged up for that.
And that's why I go back with the George and Saskatchewan. I mean, that was one probably the largest crowds I've seen in a while in SaskTel Center last night, and it's only going to grow, and that's going to be a hostile environment for Georgia to walk into.
Yep. Yeah, and if Halifax can pull that, you know, then you're avoiding Battle of the Prairies 3-game series.
Yeah, that'll get ugly quick.
Yep.
Well, let's have a look at what the playoffs look like this coming weekend, right? Quarterfinals are Friday. Buffalo and San Diego. Everybody up in arms in Buffalo. Why is that a Friday? Friday, 7:30 in Buffalo. Saturday in Halifax over at the Scotiabank. Calgary visits Halifax in an all-Canadian matchup. Over in Saskatoon later that same evening, the Swarm lock up with the Rush, and Rochester visits Vancouver at 10 o'clock Eastern on Saturday night as well. Boy, oh boy, there's some great games there. There's not a dog amongst them.
No.
And even looking at potentially who's playing who after this thing, it's like, wow. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Could be Calgary, right?
Some serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something for Nick Rose to get even? Just a storyline. He already broke the curse, right? To beat him.
Right.
Wouldn't that be something to tell all his rock buddies as they're all rooming in the same house still? I'm in the playoffs and you're not. I've got to go to the playoffs now. Bye, guys.
The couch comfortable? Yeah.
Don't forget to watch. Yeah, oh yeah. Going to be interesting. Going to be a great week. I know that I will have the local pub turning on my NLL Plus, which is international. We'll get a chance to see how good that works. I was the only one in the Rochester bar that was able to get my NLL Plus to work. Because, of course, if ESPN in the U.S., it doesn't go with them, right? Not with me. I was able to really show off that thing and putting 3 games on at once. That thing does everything.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm really liking that NLL Plus thing. I think it's a great idea. Be even nicer was an app, but I've kind of made it that way anyways. I've got my screen page thing there I just have to click on anyway. So it works out very nice. So I think that's of the ideas that the NLL has come up with over the last few years, I think this has been the golden one so far. But that's another thing, watching everything expand as we've been moving along with Brett Brood there in the commissioner's office, that, I wouldn't say earth-shattering things, but significant movement, subtly moving forward.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, because I admit I was skeptical when NLL Plus came out, because we did this before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was terrible.
It was.
They did it right.
It's got everything on there, and everything you need. If you want highlights, you got highlights. If you want, I like the condensed game too, because I'm getting the game in 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Yeah, that's.
And I think it's fantastic. Especially when schedules don't allow me to sit for 2.5 hours to watch a game.
Right.
Where you get the gist of it. And if you really need more, you can watch the game. And it's there too. So to me, that's great, let alone all the other things that come with it too. So if you haven't gotten it and done with it, do it. It's free. You can get it off NLL.com. There's just no reason why you shouldn't have it. To sit there and try and refresh your NLL scoring page, which, by the way, can make you go mental. Waiting for that score.
Yeah.
I know there's not a goal. I know I know there's another goal. Change. It's been on 354 for 8 minutes now. Change. So to have this, it's great. Well, guys, it's a time to go catch a plane. It's time to go to Prague. Time to watch the Rubeski tournament. Time to see. I heard last night that Marshall King is playing in there.
Excellent.
Nice.
Interesting. I know Eric Turner's playing with the Alberta team also. So there's a number of NLL guys going. I know Brady Kiernan's with us. So there's a number of NLL guys going to be there. Now the season's over. If they were on the bubble, they're coming on a plane now. Pretty cool. So this should be great. You can get on and the Alice Rubeski, ahm.com, I believe, or you can Google the Alice Rubeski tournament, and you can catch the YouTube games live. I believe Stamper is the one doing them again. So you can catch all of these games as they're happening, and they're all day long. Last game is at 9 o'clock Czech time. And they're like Laxney, much shorter games. So these games, they go quickly. And 9 o'clock in the morning, so you get 12 hours of games in a day if that's what you want to do all day long. Weather's supposed to be really nice out there also. Looking forward to that. So as well as who's who of lacrosse out there. Also going to be nice to meet up with the NBLL commissioner, as well as the from the Good Stick Company, Brian Whitmer, and talking to him. So it's going to be an interesting 8 or 9 days. So looking forward to having a bunch of stories for you guys next Sunday. Remember, next Sunday we are back here at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's what, like noon Saskatchewan time, Shawn?
Yeah, something like that,
He doesn't have to wake up to Roosters. This time around, he woke up to Roosters.
Yeah.
Roosters look at him and go, wait, I got 15 more minutes. So I appreciate you getting up early.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing. The guys here will take the bulk of the show. I will be around on the other side of the earth, but I will be around. So, should be interesting. I hope their internet's better than my. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
No Purple Rain. There you go. We got a bit of Rubeski. The Purple Rain share the same pub as us for sponsorship. So it's pretty cool.
Excellent.
They're great. In fact, last year we played each other. We beat them. But yeah, it was a battle for the remaining pints. Shawn, you be covering the PGLL?
I'll try to keep up to it. I mean, there's a lot of leagues in the PGLL or all the other leagues I cover, but I do keep my eye definitely out on the PGLL. Obviously, being in Moose Jaw, I got the junior B team with the Moose Jaw Mustangs in there. I try to keep up with the senior teams as well, especially with the President's Cup. So I'll try my best. I'll put it that way.
And President's Cup, I am part of the committee, so I will definitely be there for that week over in August into the beginning of September. So it's going to be a busy week over in Brooklyn. They're getting turf, guys. No more cement.
Oh,
They had that big campaign last year to finally put some turf down, and they're getting turf. And the pictures I've seen, they're getting pretty good-looking turf.
excellent.
Nice.
So it'll be nice, pristine look for TV. We're all about the showmanship. But anyways, I want to thank you all, as always, for following along with us week in and week out, day in and day out, with all the things that are going on in the lacrosse world. And now, of course, Once this is getting full swing playoffs, we also have PLL starting up soon. We also have MSL and OSL starting up soon, as well as WLA. So it's all going to be going full tilt boogie throughout the summer. If you thought we were busy in the winter, that's nothing. That's just getting warmed up for the 200 and something games that we're going to be covering through the summer. So we'll have our cars warmed up. And away we go. Just a little, jaunt over here and over there, and over here and over there. It looked like one of those cartoons if you watch the map of what I do in the summer. But hey, it's not work when you love it, right, guys?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Keep saying that to ourselves. Anyways, we appreciate it. Thank you so much, as always, for being with us. Last words, guys. Shawn, let's start with you.
Oh man, in playoff mode. I know you guys are kind of licking your wounds in Toronto and Albany, but man, we're out here. We're gearing up for a big playoff run, and I'm really excited and looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Mike, final words?
Yeah, I think we have 4 great games. Two in particular on that one side of the bracket that's just are going to be brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I'm looking forward to all 4 games and seeing what happens. See where we get who we get for the semifinals.
Right. Me, I'm in Brubeski mode. That tournament starts on Wednesday. We'll be there. We leave tonight. We'll be there tomorrow, early afternoon, and first practice is Tuesday morning, and tournament starts the very next day. So it should be exciting, and it is a full slate of teams and schedules. So if you can get on there and take a look at some of it, it's amazing. There's some great lacrosse, some names you've heard, some names you've never heard of before. Just great lacrosse, and to watch it in the outdoor box there at Radisson Stadium is amazing as well. And if you have an opportunity, I really do suggest you tune in for a little bit just to get a feel for it, because it's pretty awesome. And maybe you'll see a few of us familiar faces hanging around. But anyways, until next week, for Shawn Slaght over in Saskatoon today, soon to be in Moose Jaw.
Soon be
For
home.
Muffler Mike over in Connecticut, and for me, who knows where I'm going to be next. Airport. I'm Gary Groob right now in Toronto, wishing you the best of weeks. Remember, keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher. And until next week, have a great week, everybody. Take care.